Today I'm going to be showing you how to buy a $750,000 house with a $75,000 income. So today we're going to be talking about the house hacking that is allowed by the FHA. If you don't know, the FHA is a loan that is granted by the government that allows first-time home buyers to put down 3.5% on their first property. And it has to be a residential property, which means you can have anything from 1 to 4 units. And we're going to expose this by using the 4 units that are considered residential and use that to help us use leverage to get into a better position rather than a single family residential with our FHA. So here I got the example, 10720 West Cermak Road in Westchester, Illinois. It's listed at $750,000. We click through the photos, we see that it is relatively well kept. 4 units, no work's gonna need to be done on that. We see that it is a 3-bed, 2-bath in each of the units, and we see that it doesn't have the taxes because this one happens to be religious exempt, but that'll change when you're buying it. So to find out if this works for us, we're gonna find out first what the rents are. As you can see, I got a search set up. In the search, we see this one, 2200, 3-bed, 1.5 bath, a little more dated. That's telling me that we can get, this one's a bigger apartment building, but looks like it's less bedrooms. So this is telling me that we can get around slightly higher than this one. I'd say around 2300 would be my guess. So we take that purchase price of $750,000 and we take the rents, 2300 per unit. So as you can see, we got $750,000 down here. Mortgage is going to be over that 96.5% of the $750,000, and plugged into a mortgage calculator at 7% fixed interest rate over 30 years. That mortgage payment annually is going to come out to $57,780, and we're going to we're going to need that for later. So with the money we have down, we have to put down 25, around a little bit more. If you include closing costs, you're going to be looking around $35,000 that you're going to need to put down. Probably a little bit more. I don't have it off the top of my head, but you're going to have a little bit saved up to get some skin in the game, obviously. And then this 75% allowable FHA is a rule that the FHA has that when you are house hacking, you have to only include 75% of what the rent would be to have that apply to your mortgage. So we put that on the right side. We'll calculate that. We get 2300, 3 units. Can't include the 1 unit that you're going to live in. That brings in a gross annual income, and then we times that by 0.75 and we get 62,100. Now our expenses, we're going to still keep the gross income because that'll come down the line for actual numbers that you can use. But for expenses, we're going to go over, the main things. Usually there's 9, but here I have 8. I'm not including property management because you are going to be the property manager for this. So we have taxes. Again, that one didn't have taxes, but I looked up a similar building, multi-unit, was coming in around $15,000 annual. So $1550 is my guess, or $15.5 is my guess. Heat, electric, and water we're gonna put at $10,000. Insurance at $5,000. Scavenger and lawn at $2,200, and then maintenance at $4,000 annual for the expenses to come out at $36,700. That gives us an NOI of $25,400 after the FHA takes out that 75% rule, as we said, and with a mortgage payment of $57,000, and you're taking the NOI and putting that into the mortgage payment, your payment to the loan as an owner occupant, that's what the OO stands for, is going to be $32,000. Now, with a 43% traditional debt-to-income ratio, you're going to need to make $75,000 annual to be able to afford this home or to apply. So now let's look at it of what you can make it with the $82,000, which is excluding the 75% rule for this property. So the NOI is increased to $46,000. We apply that to the mortgage. Boom. That $57,000 is now down to $11,000 that you're paying annual for this property. And then if you look at the 43% debt to income, which wouldn't apply because you have to follow their strict rules, you technically could live in this, occupy this, and build equity in this house with $27,000 annually as your income. This is a very bare bones example, just breaking into how you can afford multifamily, especially when you're starting out young. A lot of people aren't going to have $150,000 to throw out an investment right away, but $75,000 is much more manageable. I know that's still a higher income, but to get your foot in the door, it's much more attainable. It's much easier to make $75,000 a year than $150,000, obviously. And with the FHA, you're able to get into this property, and the drawbacks are that you are going to have to live in this property, but that's only for 1 year as the requirements of the FHA. You live there for a year, and then you can move out. You can refinance possibly if you've added value to the property, and switch out your owner-occupied unit with a tenant, and that tenant can pay rent, and then you can apply their rent to the mortgage, and it could possibly be a cash flowing property. I wouldn't know for this, I didn't run the numbers to do that, but it's something to keep in mind. Also, you're going to get appreciation. Real estate always appreciates. That's why it's one of the greatest investments. And on top of that, it's when you're going to sell, you're not losing anything. You're getting your money back, if anything, because you're paying towards equity every year, and you get that back. Granted, some of the money goes to interest payments, but for the most part, you're paying towards that house. That's all, and I hope you learned something. Have a good day.